from Brooklyn, New York, and I was born and raised in Brooklyn in the Crown Heights section. Some of you are familiar with Crown Heights, the 770. That's the Central Chabad Synagogue. That's what our community is known for. I was born and raised there, as I mentioned. My way to Nigeria is kind of long, but very personal. And let's get to it. So as a typical Chabad yeshiva student, I studied in different yeshivas throughout the world. We have a residency program, if you will, where yeshiva students visit different Jewish communities around the world to get a taste of what it's like to be a rabbi, your responsibilities, and you get a hands-on approach and a hands-on test, and you really come out and you learn a lot, and there's a lot of responsibilities thrown at you in a very short amount of time. So you mature up very quickly and you learn a lot. And then we go off, we get married and we go off on our ways. So the way I reached Nigeria was I took part in this program visiting Jewish communities back in, I think it was Rosh Hashanah in 2014, just over almost 6 years ago now. And the Chabad of Nigeria, the way that started was, it all began actually in the Congo, in Kinshasa, the DRC, the Democratic Republic of the Congo. There was a Rabbi Bentulila, who's still there. He was the first permanent Chabad rabbi to be in sub-Saharan Africa.
And this is going back 30 years ago, right? This is in the late 80s?
This is going back in the early 90s.
Early 90s.
The question came in, where in Nigeria? In Lagos, in the southern city. Now, Chabad, the first Chabad house in the entire world outside of the community was actually in North Africa, in Morocco. In the year, I think it was in the 1945,
1950, yeah, right after the previous Rebbe died.
Actually, it was before he passed away. That he already sent different rabbis to visit there, and then they actually created a permanent presence there. Anyhow, it took quite a few years for Chabad to reach Central Africa, sub-Saharan. But there wasn't a big demand for a full-time rabbi to be in all these different countries. Though they did have Jewish people coming in and out in different times, short business trips or long business trips, but they were always there for a short amount of time. Then as the community started growing, the need to send out more rabbis arose. So what they pulled was the yeshiva students, such as myself and those who came before me, to come to Nigeria, to Ghana, to Ivory Coast, Addis Ababa, Nairobi, and all the other countries, to come there for Passover, for Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and in between, the rabbi in the Congo used to send kosher holiday packages. Now, as the communities grew, they sent out more rabbis to different countries. Now Chabad has 10 permanent Chabad houses, centers throughout the sub-Saharan Africa, from the Ivory Coast all the way to Ethiopia, Angola, and many, many countries in between. And that's for the permanent Chabad stations. And there's an additional, I believe, 6 or 7 countries that get rabbinical students as visitors, because those countries are not big enough yet to house a full-time rabbi. So as I mentioned, I came there as a student. We'll get to the Jewish community. I see the question coming in. We'll get to the details of the community soon. So I first came in I remember I got a call from a friend asking me to come to Nigeria for Rosh Hashanah. I asked him, what is Nigeria and where is it? And actually it took me quite some time. Even after I arrived in Nigeria, I had no idea where it was really. But Nigeria is it's like in the middle of Africa, kind of. It's a country home to about 200 million people. It has the largest economy in Africa. It is, they believe it will be about 400 million by the end of 2050. And the country is growing in many, many different ways. Though, as many, many countries in Africa, it has its own challenges, those stemming from corruption to lack of education. And that is the main reason why there's an expatriate or foreigner community in Nigeria and many other countries in Africa. So let's go into the economy of Africa, of Nigeria. Nigeria is blessed to be I think the seventh largest exporter of petroleum products in the world, which brings them in a lot of money. How unfortunately, the money doesn't trickle down to the people. It stays just at the top. And those people take the money, and the money doesn't reach the average person. I believe over 80% of the country is starving. If I will describe to you how bad it is in that sense, you won't believe it. When people steal, they don't steal money, they steal food because they're simply hungry. That's how bad it is. But on the other hand, I find the Nigerians to be very, very happy people. They have very little, they have a lot of sufferings, but they're always happy and they're always upbeat. And I remember one guy, he came to me, he was doing a project for us, and a local Nigerian guy, and we were talking. I said, "How are you? How's your family?" Because he was been working for us for quite some time. And he said, "Yeah, I'm okay. You know, everything's okay. My wife just lost her baby last week, but you know, we're okay. We're continuing." And it's not an early loss. The baby was born, and a few days after the baby was born, the baby passed away. And from my understanding, was this baby born in the Western world, in Europe or in America, the baby would for sure survive. But they just accepted this. We have a hard life, and we try to put a smile, and they actually do it very well. And that's something that, no matter how hard it gets, I just need to look out the window and see them, and then I need to know I need to be happy with what I have and my upbringing. Nigeria, despite some people believe, they are very intelligent people. But not all of them are educated. And the educated ones, they realize how tough it is in Africa, and they just want to pick up and go to Europe. So they have a very big problem of a brain drain of people getting up and leaving. So they have to have foreigners coming in to help them out with the infrastructure, with security, and all the other sectors in between. So there you have many Jews coming from America, from Europe. You have a lot of Jewish people in the State Department, USAID, and Israelis that are working in many different sectors that are all there to fill the gap where the intellectuals and the educated people have left. And that's how we come to about just under 1,000 Jewish people is in Nigeria. We are primarily in Lagos, that's in the southern city, and Abuja, which is the capital. And we have a few other big cities spread out that we service them throughout the year. So I'm going to go through what is the Jewish community in Africa? How do we do things? How is it different than back at home in the US or in Europe or in Israel? And come to appreciate what we have back at home.
And Mehdi, is there a chabad in Lagos? Of course there is. And also in the capital, is that a separate chabad, or is it one chabad that services both?
So the main chabad is in Abuja, it's in the capital. And that's where I've been working out of all these years. And God willing, sometime this week, we're going to have the major announcement of the opening of the second Chabad house in Lagos.
Amazing, Mazel Tov. That's amazing.
So importing things is because the country doesn't contain a lot of kosher food and many of the foods that we're accustomed to. So Nigeria is very dependent on importations, and for sure when it comes to kosher products. So we need to plan many months in advance. For example, when we're dealing with Pesach, around just when we're done Sukkot, we already begin putting together our order of matzah and wine and gefilte fish and all the other canned items and snacks that we can have and should be here in time. Well, this year it didn't help us because we just got the container of matzah released last night.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah, we have a lot of matzah for next year.
Oh my goodness. What did you do for matzah this year?
This year we actually had to we call up all the businessmen flying in and ask them, okay, instead of 2 suitcases for yourself, you're going to only take 1 suitcase and do laundry more often. And the second will be full of matzah and wine and gefilte fish.
Wow.
But we may do. When we have kosher chicken and beef, it comes from 2 different, we have 2 different sources. We get our chicken from Nigeria, which has its own challenges, mainly pertaining to health. Because the standard that they have out there for the locals is not on the standard that we're accustomed to, and us foreigners, we're not exposed to as many, our immune system is not as strong as theirs, and therefore we need to have a very high standard. So we work together with an Israeli company to keep an eye out on a little farm in Ibadan, where that's the main city where they grow poultry. And there's an Israeli guy who he's responsible for our birds, and we put the order in a few weeks in advance, about like 9 weeks in advance. He gets them together, and then we fly in a shochet, a slaughterer from either from Europe or from Ghana, when we're able to, the other Chabad rabbi, to come and shecht for us, to slaughter kosher chicken for us. But the beef and the lamb is more complicating, and therefore we have to import that from South Africa. Now, you would think South Africa and Nigeria are just about 6-hour flights, a direct flight, and should be very simple. Unfortunately, when you're dealing with probably the most corrupt or top 3 corrupt countries in the world, it's not that simple. There's like the State Department does it. They hire a a local company to bring them in their stuff, and yeah, nothing in Africa is simple. And what we do is we hire another company to import, and then we add in a few percentage points for them to clear the way. And if not, you just won't get your meat. And meats cannot remain outside of the freezer for 12 hours, or after that, you're taking a risk. And it's a lot of money, so we pray a lot. But Baruch Hashem, they have a lot of respect for Jewish people, which we'll get into that soon, and we'll see. And they they help us out generally, and they don't complicate things too much. It comes to a point that we're able to Chabad. We're there permanently for about 7 years, and big, large corporations that are, some of you are familiar with Solelu Boneh from Israel. They used to be the national construction company then, and they're in Nigeria since the 1960s. Some of their people are amazed how quick Chabad is able to release contraband, which is meat, and they're just trying to import cement or other materials, and it takes them months and months. But as we all know, it all comes from the bracha and the blessing from Hashem, because when we're trying to do something good and positive and help out our fellow Jew, although there definitely will be bumps on the road, but we will definitely succeed. And thank God we've been very successful.
Amazing.
And
it's amazing.
uh, let's go into Rosh Hashanah. What does Rosh Hashanah look like in Nigeria? So every Chabad and every rabbi needs to tailor his services to his people. The people in California won't compare to the same people in New York and Mexico City and Europe and Australia, and for sure not in Africa. So we all begin with a Rosh Hashanah dinner, community-wide. Everybody gets together, and it's a very, very symbolic thing. People getting together. Sometimes, you know, when people are involved in business, you fight, you have disagreements. But what I find it to be amazing is that that when it comes to Rosh Hashanah or Pesach, when the whole community gets together, you see people who during the year are not so friendly. All of a sudden they sit together, they raise a l'chaim, wish each other a happy new year, because there's not too many of us in Nigeria, so they all want to get involved and say, let's put our differences aside. We'll continue tomorrow morning. Wow. So we started with a Rosh Hashanah dinner, and we then go have a large program to blow shofar for as many Jewish people as possible. Since the main mitzvah of Rosh Hashanah is to hear the sound of the shofar, so my wife and I, that we've been here together, and before I met my wife, we used to go on Rosh Hashanah. Since we don't drive, we walk to different businesses, and we go to the American school and the British school, and wherever there are Jewish students, and we blow the shofar for them, and we bring them apple and honey, and the Jewish children are so proud to say, this is my rabbi, this is my heritage, that we keep on doing it no matter how far it is and how much you have to walk in the heat. But just to see the smile on these Jewish kids' faces, how proud they are, we tell ourselves every year we must continue this and do this for the next holiday. And one of the reasons why they're so proud is that most of the international schools are foreigners from all over the world. You have hundreds and hundreds of kids, even thousands, and they're the only little Jewish boy or girl there. And for example, everybody's celebrating Christmas, everybody's celebrating whatever it is throughout the year, and you don't really relate to their holidays. You learn about it because it's a part of the curriculum in school, but when you start telling people about Passover, they don't really understand you. So when we come in and we explain our heritage, the school and the children are very happy that they learn about a different culture, and that's how we learn to respect each other, because we can see and understand, and it avoids a lot of bigotry later on when you read in the news one thing and you never met a Jew. Of course, you only read one thing and you'll believe that. But if you remember the rabbi, you remember your friends, they explain to you the holiday, they will. We can only hope that they won't go down that path. It was actually just this past Hanukkah. We were in Nigeria and visiting one of the schools, and one kid tells me, "Rabbi, you lost weight." I told him, I don't think so. I think I gained a bit of weight since I got married. So he said, no, when I was in Accra, in Ghana, nearby country, you came to my school as well. Mm-hmm. And you had many kids. So I right away understood the other Chabad rabbi in Ghana also does the same thing. And he also visits the school and teaches all the children, the Jews and non-Jewish children alike, all about our heritage.
It's amazing. Rabbi Majeski in Ghana is actually a childhood friend. We grew up together, so.
Rabbi Nayach.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Actually, growing up, he's a bit older than me, but he was my neighbor 1 block away, growing up on Carroll Street. Now he lives 1 country away, but in the same neighborhood. Yom Kippur it creates its unique challenges. Many people don't want to drive to shul on Yom Kippur. throughout the year, they may not be so careful. They have their own way of keeping Shabbos. But Yom Kippur, many people want to come over. But the issue is that walking at nighttime, or in general, walking alone can be a bit challenging. When I say challenging, I mean, I don't want to exaggerate too much, but there's a bit of kidnapping. Us foreigners were a walking bank when, especially compared the way to how much money they have. So if they kidnap a foreigner, they can negotiate with the company to get their employee back. And there's even something called kidnapping insurance. So in general, in the big cities, it doesn't happen, but nevertheless, the companies have regulation against walking alone at night.
Can I just interject and ask you, what security would Chabad have there? Or do you need insurance like that, or how does it work?
So we have a security in front of the Chabad house at all times. There are armed guards, and we're in touch with the local police station that they always send their people going around. I just awarded a grant from the Jewish Agency to help us with our security upgrade. But going around the cities of Lagos and Abuja, it's generally fine. And on the contrary, we don't like to take security when we go around the city, since if you go with security, it's obviously you're somebody important and you need security, and therefore they'll follow you and you'll create problems. So therefore we don't go around with bodyguards. But when we go outside of the big cities, when we visit Jewish communities, small communities in Port Harcourt, in Ibadan, in Jimbandala, and other places, we absolutely take the armed guards. They usually meet us at the plane, and they take us, and sometimes we even have an armored vehicle. Depends who's picking us up, staying with us at all times, and then go on the way back. But in our cities, we're generally fine. But despite the fact that we're generally okay, and I saw the question came in, were we ever accosted? No, thank God we've been always fine. The police actually are the ones who make us issues, but usually when we show them that we're rabbis, and I'll explain the Nigerian respect for religion soon, that usually when we show them that we're rabbis, we're from Israel, they just let us off, and they don't want to bother us too much. So Yom Kippur, what we do is we open up our house. We have many people sleeping in our house. And it's just a general beautiful atmosphere of Yom Kippur. Do we have a building for our gatherings? So in Abuja, in the capital, the first Chabad house, they're actually right now building a synagogue. They have the house of the rabbi was the place where everything took place, and right now they're in the middle of building a synagogue, which some of you are familiar with, 770. It's the Central Chabad Synagogue in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, and it's a unique design. I'm sure Rabbi Landa will show you a picture later, or you can Google it. And anyhow, so there's many Chabad houses that frame or design their Chabad house, their synagogues in a similar design. So we're going to have, I believe, the first 770 in Africa. So going on into security, there's also another thing we get help with is many Israeli companies are operating in Nigeria, and since Israelis have a lot of experience from back home, so whenever we have a large community event, we usually have these companies come by, and they do their thing. I mix out. They know how to deal with this better than the rabbis. Now I want to talk about the.
And do they do it as a favor, or do they do it for hire? Like, are they hired to do it, or do they do it because you're Chabad and you're there to take care of the spiritual needs?
No, definitely they do it for free. I'm sorry. They definitely do it for free because they understand the need. There's a sense of we're all in it together. We all have a responsibility for one another. There's not so many of us here, and therefore the companies all want to help. when it comes out a few weeks before the holidays, I have different representatives from different companies saying, Rabbi, okay, we already spoke to our competitors. They'll supply you with that. We'll do this, just to really take care of the community. It's an amazing feeling of unity when it comes to taking care of the rabbi and themselves as well. Nigeria is a very, any word very or extremely religious is very small compared to how religious Nigerians actually are. The country is kind of split between the north being Islamic and the south being Christian. The north, I don't have too much experience there. That's where the famous terrorist organization Boko Haram is centered. But they rarely mix too much. But the south, where Lagos and Abuja is predominantly Christian. And they, how do I say, love is a small word as well for how they view Jewish people. When they open the Bible, the New Testament, Old Testament, whatever they read, they view it, they study it as if it's something in the heaven. It's not a physical place. Jerusalem is like what we think of Gan Eden, or when Mashiach will come, there'll be peace and unity and candies, money growing on the trees. That's how. But it's not something physical, but that's how the Nigerians view Israel and Jerusalem. So when they see a Jew with a yarmulke, a beard, tzitzis, a hat, and a jacket running around, they're just amazed. They can't believe that a Jew in Nigeria, they come over to us. I'm not talking about once a month, once a week. I'm talking about several times a day. They come to us and they say, I can't believe this. I'm so happy. I feel so blessed. Please bless my children, bless my wife, bless my business. Can you partner with me? Can you give me financial advice because you're a Jew and you're intelligent? They just want any connection they can have with a Jew. And this is not only the simple people that they go to church and they're laborers. I'm talking about even intellectual people and people educated. I mean, and people who travel the world and they've seen everything. And they're so amazed to see Jewish people. There's a few different reasons for that. One of them, like I mentioned, that they're very religious and they're very respectful of religion in general. Another reason is that there was a place called Biafra that wanted to become autonomous from Nigeria. This going back in the 60s, I believe. And there was a very horrible war, and Nigeria, the federal Nigeria, encircled this area called Biafra, and they literally starved them. About 3 million people perished during that time. But the only country, to my understanding, and that's what they told me, I didn't do much research into it, but what they told me is that the only country that really helped them out was Israel. Israel sent airplanes full of food. I don't know if they landed or they dropped it from the air. I don't know exactly how they did it, but they're the only ones that came to drop food to these starving people. So till today, Biafrans are extremely pro-Israel. I remember about 3 years ago, we were coming to Simchat Torah, and we were so busy, and we didn't prepare flags for the children. And especially for children, it's very important for them to have their flags. So I was thinking, what should I do? All of a sudden, someone from the community said, Rabbi, I'll take care of it. I didn't pay attention too much. All of a sudden, about 20 minutes later, we have over 100 Israeli flags. I said, you had this in your car? Because I know his house is very far. He said, no, I sent the boy, I tell him, go bring me Israeli flags. Everyone, and I wouldn't say everyone, but you can get an Israeli flag much easier than an American flag. People driving down the street, they'll have a Nigerian flag and a and an Israeli flag together on their cars. You'll see in churches huge Israeli flags. That you'll see them wearing talit, tzitzit, shofar. They have a shofar on Pesach. But they just want that connection with the Jewish people. They have immense respect for Jews and love for us. So, of course, being that we are, in essence, we are a guest in their country, so we want to really respect them and nurture their love for Israel and the Jewish people. So one of the things is that we have several times a year, we have these major gatherings where we have Nigerian pastors and businessmen get together, and we really strengthen them. We explain to them the holiness of the land of Israel, why it's not just another country, but rather the holiness in the soil, and the meaning of it. And they just love the stuff. Sometimes I pinch myself to say, how much can they love us already? But they absolutely adore us, and therefore on Hanukkah, I'm sure you're all famous, all know about the big Chabad Hanukkah programs to have big menorahs throughout the city to remind people about the miracle of Hanukkah and the spreading of the light, and not just for the Jewish people, but we want to spread the light to the entire city. So in Nigeria as well, we have a responsibility to spread the light to them as well. So we generally have a concert, and we have thousands of Nigerians joining these concerts, open ear concerts, which creates its own security issues, but we won't get into that. And they come together and they just want to take part in Hanukkah. And I think I'm pretty sure there's more Nigerians lighting a menorah in Nigeria than Jewish people. So needless to say that anti-Semitism doesn't exist in Nigeria. It just, wow. It's not a term that we know about, thank God. We do have our own issues with security. Oh, okay, I'm gonna move for a second, please.
Are there children, is it bedtime?
Yeah, 1 second, sorry.
Awesome, how many children do you have?
I just have one. We'll get to my story and my connection to Nigeria in just a moment. Okay, sorry. And so we don't have to deal with anti-Semitism, though there are a lot of Lebanese that come from troubled areas of Lebanon that they don't exactly love us, but they even caught them a few times, Hezbollah operating in Nigeria, but they're definitely not locals. They come from Lebanon just to make some trouble and money launder, because it's kind of a little lawless, the banking system in Nigeria, so they launder a lot of money that way. But the Nigerians don't have it, not one bit, when it comes to physical security. They catch them, they're not so nice to them. And Guantanamo Bay looks like an island compared to what the Nigerians, how they react to such behavior. They don't accept that at all, especially not towards Jewish people. But there is something very interesting that in the UN, Nigeria actually votes very against Israel. They're very consistently, they vote with the Arab bloc. And that also has what to do with the fact that they are a part of an organization of Arab nations, and they consistently vote together as a bloc. Though in 2015, there was a referendum in the UN to recognize the state of Palestine and force Israel to make room for them, and it wouldn't take into consideration the security needs of the Jewish people in Israel. And the U.S., for one reason or another, I wasn't involved in that. I'm not a politician, or a diplomat, but the U.S. was not able to help out with its veto power, and it was a very, very tight race. And for the first time, Nigeria was the deciding vote against the creation of the Palestinian state. I'm not going to get into the what's right or wrong with Israel or Palestine, but one thing is we need to take into account for the security needs of our brethren. So even if does Israel have a consulate there? Israel has an embassy in Abuja. It's very well hidden, very secure, but a very warm place where they care and love for many Jews. Somebody asked beforehand about converts. Yeah, I get probably about 5 emails a week of people wanting to convert. We are not ordained rabbis for conversion. We are for other things. So what we generally do is we refer them to the chief rabbinate in Israel, and they give them a guideline of what to learn and how to behave. And we tell them, you come to us, we'll teach you what the chief rabbis demand of you, and then you'll get tested by them. For the very simple reason of when you go to the top, nobody can ask questions about your Judaism afterwards. So we're very careful to help people, and not just to give them an easy time and then they'll have trouble later when they go to Israel and people will ask questions about their Judaism. We want them to have, and also not to deal with other issues that come with Africa, with racism. So we want them to be fully accepted and no one can ask any questions on their Judaism. And actually you do have, I would say less than 10 Nigerians a year, but you have about 10 Nigerians a year, from my understanding, that properly convert and live full Jewish lives, kosher lives. I'm talking about kosher, the Muhajirin.
And they stay in Nigeria, or do they move to Israel?
They usually move to Israel since it's much easier to live a Jewish life in Israel. In Nigeria, it can be very, very challenging, especially if you're not going to be living in the center in Abuja or Lagos, in the main cities.
Wow, Peter has a good question. What language do you communicate? Is it English or Hebrew, or is it a local language that you would speak?
So it was colonialized by the British, I think until the 60s, if I understood correctly. And so therefore, they in the large cities they speak English, together with a language called Pidgin. Pidgin is a mixture of English and their local tribal language. So over time, we pick up a bit of Pidgin. For them, when we go to the market and we speak and we need to negotiate with them, so they see a foreigner, like in any country, you see a foreigner, if you figure out the guy's not from there, you give him a different price. But then once they hear our accents and how we speak like them, then they understand to give us the right price.
You ever would have thought, Mendy, a yeshiva boy from Brooklyn speaking Pidgin? I love it. That's amazing. But like on Rosh Hashanah, your speech is in English or in Hebrew?
So the community is mostly Israelis. But nevertheless, not everyone is Israeli, so we speak in English. But when we have a one-on-one class, or when we have a smaller class and everybody is Israeli, we'll give the class in Hebrew. The next thing is, I'll tell you about my personal story with Nigeria. I came to Nigeria my first time, I was not even 22 years old. And I came there, like I mentioned earlier, just for Rosh Hashanah and Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, just the high holidays. And I told the rabbi, the chief rabbi, I told him, when we were done, I told him, thank you very much. You've been a very nice guy. You've been very helpful, but I'll see you in New York. Um, I was never going to planning on coming back. It wasn't a chance. It's a tough place. It's not, there's a reason why very few people are there. Very few foreigners are there. Many Nigerians leave there, and you can look up for a million reasons why it's a tough place. So I told the rabbi, I'll see you when you come to New York to visit the 770, the Central Synagogue. And he said, okay. But I didn't know what his plans were. But he calls me up right before Hanukkah, and he tells me, listen, Mendy, I understand you're a student, but there's a whole community in Lagos that needs a rabbi. For Hanukkah, we need you to bring the menorahs and donuts, and I can't be in two cities at the same time. So I told him, my previous answer to you, what I told you last time, still stands. Nothing changed. I'm not coming. But he had his way at the end, and I came back for Hanukkah. I came for Purim, Pesach, and I kept on coming back for many, many years. And at the same time, there was a beautiful French Jewish girl volunteering in the Chabad house in Abuja, in the capital. She was running the educational programs for the children, she was the director of the Jewish school, and she was doing the C-Team, the Chabad Teen Network, and the Sunday Hebrew School, and all the other programs with the children. And every time I came to Nigeria, I always used to come to visit the Abuja Chabad house. Everybody always told me, there's this girl here, you're a single Jewish boy, why don't you go out with this girl? And none of us were really interested. We didn't think we were meant for each other. Fast forward about a year and a half later, I was coming from New York to Nigeria, and the rabbi called me up and he said, Mendy, you're coming for Purim? I said, yeah. So he said, where are you stopping off? Because there aren't any direct flights between New York and Nigeria. So I said, I don't know, I'll buy the cheapest flight, whether it's in Istanbul, I'll stop over in London or Amsterdam. So he told me, why don't you stop over in Paris? So I said, what's in Paris? So he said, Mazal, the girl. So I told him, okay, what does that have to do with me? What does she have to do with me? He told me, go out for coffee with her. I said, no, I don't plan on that. I never thought about that, and I don't think it's going to work. She's French, I'm American. We're very different. We're different cultures. I don't speak the same language. I have nothing to do with her. So he let it go for about 5 minutes. And he tells me, Mandy, I don't know what to tell you, but I don't know what to say, but she already said yes, she's willing to go out with you, and I can't tell her no. So I said, I'm not interested, but whatever. Long story short, my mom said, just go out with her, you meet her for coffee and continue on to the airport and catch your connecting flight. Now, we got engaged, and we were discussing how did it come about that she agreed. How was I proposed to her? How did the rabbi propose her to me? So she said the same thing. She said that you already said yes, and he didn't know how to tell me no. I already said yes, and he didn't know how she can say no. But she wasn't interested either. And that's where you learn that the Torah says you're not supposed to lie. But at the same time, the Torah says that we should always be like the students of Aaron the Cohen. Moshe's older brother, that he used to lie to make peace. When two people used to feud, he used to tell them, go to one party and said, your friend, he didn't really mean it. He told me he's really sorry and he wants to work it out with you. And he used to go, while his partner never said that. And he used to go tell the other one and lie, but it was to make peace. Well, at the end, I married Mazal, We got married in Paris last June, and thank God we've been blessed with a healthy baby boy.
Mazel
And thank you. And now we're planning on, in the next few weeks, we're planning on making our big move back to Nigeria on a permanent basis.
Amazing. Amazing. Mazel tov. Awesome. Can I ask you, Mendy, thank you, that story is awesome. Tell me about, Barbara's asking about there's a documentary of the Lost Tribe. And just in our phone call last week, you were telling me about a tribe, the Igbos, of around 40 million in Nigeria. So can you tell me about other tribes in Nigeria?
Yeah, sure. So there are many, many different tribes in Nigeria, and they're divided based on geographic locations. One of the largest tribes are the Igbos. They number about 40 million, like you mentioned. They believe that they are descendants of Jews. I did never research their origins. I'm not involved in that, though I did speak with the chief rabbis of Johannesburg, and because they answer a lot of questions in Jewish law pertaining to Africa. And they told me that in the 60s or 70s, they sent a delegation to Nigeria and to other, Lemba are not from Nigeria. I don't know where's the Lemba. They sent the rabbis from South Africa sent a delegation to Nigeria to research the status of the Igbos, and they concluded that they are not Jews. But we take a approach, a kind of a hybrid approach. Not all 40 million believe that they're Jews in the way we look at ourselves as Jews. Most of them are fully practicing Christians. I'm not a historian, for sure not in Christian history, but back in the day, from my understanding, is that the Christians were mostly Jews, and or they were even rabbis, some of them, and they practiced Christianity. So they kind of believe something similar, that we are Jews and we practice Christianity. Many of them, or most of them, when they meet me, they say, "Oh wow, you're a Jew." I know, I'm also a Jew. So which church do you pray in? And I'm like, "Do you see this?" Of course, I don't tell it to them, but it's not evident to them that a Jew prays in a synagogue. A Jew prays in the church to the majority of them. Now, though you do have some who do research into Christianity and they conclude on their own that Christianity is not the truth or whatever it is, and they get closer to Judaism. And then we even have synagogues. This is the minority, is that they have people with full-on synagogues, Igbos, that they believe they're Jews. They have their strict, they have a mechitza, they have a sefer Torah, they have tzitzis, yarmulke. I'll tell you even something. One of the most popular names in Chabad is Menachem Mendel. The Rebbe, the Rebbe of Chabad, his name was Menachem Mendel. And my name is Menachem Mendel. My full Hebrew name, Rabbi Landau's name is Menachem Mendel. And a certain boy in Nigeria, a little Igbo boy, cute boy, his name is also Menachem Mendel. I actually have a picture together with him, though I didn't prepare it here, but I can send it to Rabbi Landau. They're very, very religious. They ask me for matzah, for apple and honey. And not like the other people ask me for apple and honey for Lag BaOmer. They actually ask it in the right time. They're very studious. They study chabad.org, which is the largest faith-based website in the world. They study it very well. And a part to respect them, and being a guest in their country, we go to their synagogues and we give sermons, we give classes. I tend to do it to the one near Lagos, just outside of Lagos in Festac. I go there about 3-4 times a year to that one, and then I go to another one in Abuja. Really to respect them and to not to create a divide and tell them you're not accepted, because we're guests in their country. So we tread a fine line. What's funny is that they announced one of the times that I'm coming to give a class in their synagogue, and there were people from another synagogue, another Igbo synagogue came by, and a whole commotion erupted. And I asked them, what's going on? What's the issue? They said, how can a rabbi from Israel come and enter a synagogue that on the same street there's a church? So, and that's how orthodox they are, ultra orthodox. However, I explained to them that it's okay. It's not against Jewish halacha.
So can I actually share that picture? Is this is this you at the synagogue?
Yeah, that's me at the synagogue. The gentleman standing there on the right, I forgot his first name, but the
one wearing
exactly. He was actually at the Rebbe's burial place in New York, in Queens. Yeah.
Wow.
Many Nigerians actually come to, when they come to New York, they visit Chabad Center, they visit the Rebbe's burial place. Is there any DNA testing of their origins? I'm sure we can Google it, but I don't believe so.
Actually going to is this the same community listening to you?
Yeah.
It's amazing. Amazing. Okay, I'll stop sharing the screen. Can you also talk, Mendy, a little bit about the humanitarian work that Chabad does in Nigeria?
Yes. So there's something called social responsibility, where corporations that are foreign corporations that come to Africa, they come to a country, and in essence, they're foreigners. They're not locals. So when they come to do business, in essence, they're coming to take their money and take it out back home, whether it's in Europe, Israel, America, or wherever it is. And it's not well accepted. There's a bit of distrust or jealousy, especially with the oil companies that just take all the money out, and the regular person is not going to have any benefit of that. So there's a concept where the companies give something to the organization, really just a token, and just to calm the people down. So we said, instead of just being a little token just to calm the people down, we believe that us as Jewish people, we're here to be a light unto the nations. They tell it to us all the time. You Jews, Jew, you are light unto the nations. So we're not going to do just a small project, but rather we want a continuous large project. So therefore we took on, we didn't want to just give them free food, which we do, but rather we try to get involved in building schools, building infrastructure projects. For example, there was a village in the east of Lagos that this village was surrounded by water, like swamps, and the government built half a bridge or half a path getting into it. And when you don't have business, people are poor. When you're poor and you don't know how to do anything else, you commit crime. And they were robbing people at night times and people in the area. And we came across one of them, and he asked us to help him out. So we put together an Israeli company who took upon themselves to finish up the rest of the construction in that area. So we try to take a long-term approaches to help out the Nigerians. Our organization is called Chabad AID, Chabad Aid, just like USAID or Israel AID. So we even have the Chabad AID. We have a website called chabadaid.com or .org, and you can see some of our projects there. Another thing that we wanted to do was we didn't want to just help people out and give them free food, since that's short-sighted. So what we did was we created a program where local the Jewish women of our community, they would be the ones to be involved and spearhead the project of helping out Muslim women during the Ramadan. Now, Ramadan, for those of you who don't know, is I don't know too much about it myself, but I just know that they fast for about 40 days. And then at the end of the 40 days, they have celebrations and big festivals. And it's a time to be with your family. Now, there's a lot of stress to bring home money that you can feed your family and buy food and meat. And most of them don't make enough money to do that. So Chabad Aid, we got together and we collected donations actually most of this money came from international donors who took upon themselves to give the food, but in a way that we created a connection between the Jewish woman and the Muslim woman. And many of them keep in touch till today, some of them from a few years back. And what it really does is that it creates understanding between us, and not only what they read in Al Jazeera and whatever it is. Because despite if you notice, I said a few times that I tell Nigerians that I'm Israeli. I'm not Israeli. I don't own Israeli citizenship, but the average Nigerian sees me or anyone else, any other Jew, as an Israeli. They don't understand. What do you mean you're from America? You're a Jew. You're from Israel. Where else do you come from? So I stopped saying, I just say I'm from Israel, and it saves me time. So also when they read the news, they can be corrupted and thinking negative things. Even if you don't agree with the Israel-Palestine issue, they'll still think negatively about you since they believe you're an Israeli. I know that's for sure the case in Europe. Europe doesn't differentiate between a Jew and an Israeli. I'm sorry to say, they hate us equally. But so we try to combat that softly, not armed combat, but through really connecting the women. And when they talk to each other and they help them out, you're like, who is this person helping me? What does she think? What does she think about me? What kind of family does she have? And it really brings them together.
It's amazing, Mehdi. If I could just share my screen, and I think this is you could correct me. Is this a school? Let me just pull it up on the screen over here. What's happening over here in this picture?
Okay, so this is the groundbreaking ceremony of a multi-purpose sports center in Kubwa in northern Abuja. This is a Christian center, one of the only ones of its kind in Nigeria. It's a center for children with special needs. These children, unfortunately, they're discriminated against, even by their own families, because they believe that these children are cursed, and they have problems, and they don't have and even in those who don't believe that in these bad things against these children, who were born the way they were against their will, nevertheless there is no place for them, no place to help them out. So we did find one place that actually did take care of them very well, and we decided to, instead of building another project like that, we said, let's strengthen them and connect them with regular children. Now, most children in Africa, they don't have a ball, and they for sure don't have a park, and they don't. The park is the highway. That's the only patch of land that's paved or semi-paved. So we decided to build a stadium for them with special access.
This is like Chabad Aid?
This is Chabad Aid, yeah. We partnered, of course, with international donors. Le Roi du Monde is a Jewish organization in France, and some local donors as well. We partnered with them to create a center where regular children and special children can meet together and play together. And thereby they'll gain an understanding of one another, and hopefully we won't end discrimination, but we can minimize it even a little bit.
Amazing. I have like six or seven pictures, maybe, that you. This is the Chabad rabbi in Abuja's son, right? This is Yossi. I'm assuming that's
exactly.
So yes. What is he handing out over here? I'm assuming that's his mother, in the white, or someone else.
She's one of the volunteers.
One of the volunteers.
But he's handing out candies to the. It's actually Israeli snacks, bamba. Um, yeah, he's handing it out to regular children his age
Nice.
in Nigeria.
So this it looks like it's in Rabbi Mendy's Rabbi. Is this Rabbi Hazan? The
Yeah,
Hazan?
that's Rabbi Uzan.
Is that you?
That's me.
And what looks like you're teaching Torah. This is a Chumash. I see a Torah book in front of you. Who are you teaching it to?
So this lady, she's a journalist who loves Jewish people, loves Israel, but she said, she wants to really affect the people through her writing. Since she's a journalist, she has influence over.
Oops.
So we decided to bring her to our offices, and we told her, come, we'll teach you, we'll give you talking points when you write, or when you speak to people. And we showed her the Jewish approach to Israel from the Bible.
Amazing. So this is you speaking. So I'm just going to go through some of the other pictures. I wanted to make sure I didn't skip one. So this is the stadium you're talking about. This looks like it's Hanukkah. Is this a regular person or a mayor or a dignitary that the boy is helping light a candle?
The boy is the rabbi's son, and this is Hanukkah. You see the people that are getting the light, they're not Jewish, they're Christians, but they just love Israel so much that they want to take part in as much as they can. Beautiful. So they join us for Hanukkah.
Beautiful. This, I'm assuming, is Ramadan. And could you tell me a little more of what's happening in this picture? This looks like it's recent in the past few months.
Yeah, so this was just now Ramadan, about, I think it was a month ago or just over a month ago. This year was a bit distant. We didn't have the Jewish women get involved, especially since most of them flew home. But you can see it, Rabbi Uzan with the Israeli ambassador, his security guard. They're giving out food parcels to disabled people at the mosque.
Can you tell me how many were given? How many packages?
A symbolic number of 770.
I love it.
Because that's the address of the Central Synagogue in Brooklyn.
So we like doing things in 770. It used to be 613, but 770 is a higher number. So we're going to go for 770. So for donations, we don't do the highs anymore. Now donations come in 770s. How does that sound, Mendy?
I'm all for it.
Let's see. I have a few more. Let me just may have to scroll out. Let's see. Everyone still see my screen? A new picture? Did that come up?
No, not yet.
No. Okay, hold on a second. Let me just reshare then. I'm actually curious about this picture, how you would explain it. I see, again, this is probably the same day with Ramadan. Is that the rabbi again?
Yeah, that's the Rabbi Uzan with his son and the Israeli ambassador, the imam.
Is everyone holding elbows because of social distance, or is that a pose in Nigeria that's common?
No, that's due to the virus.
Okay. I don't know why it's not letting me scroll anymore. There we go. Well, what are they showing? Is that a sefer? Is that what is that? What are they reading?
That's the chief imam, religious figure in the central mosque of Nigeria. I believe he was showing the rabbi and the ambassador different passages in the Quran where it says about respecting Jewish people and living in peace with them.
Beautiful. Wow.
Yeah. It was a major event since the central mosque has immense influence over Muslims throughout the entire northern Nigeria and even in southern Nigeria. All of them, and for him to come out and accept Jewish people and Israelis and Jews so publicly in his own mosque, it really sent a statement out, and it sent a feeling amongst Muslims that it's okay to be associated and friends with Jews.
Wow, Wow. If only we could accept ourselves as well. Also, that's beautiful. So this is the Chabad Aid, the humanitarian project, and this is just helping refugees, right? Is this food
Yeah.
packaging?
Yes. One of the ways you want to bring children to school is that you need to incentivize children. Children don't work, adults as well, but for sure children. And if their parents don't ask them to come to school, or don't demand of them to come to school, or even when they go to school, it's not as interesting. They won't go, and they'll just beg for money on the streets. So one of the ways we want to bring them to school is that we do a food drive. Give them food, and they come in the hundreds. They come there to ask for food, to get food. And we tell them, do you know that we check around beforehand, where are the local schools? And we bring the principals and we talk to them. We tell them, listen, why are you on the street? Come get an education. There's
Wow.
free food every single day. You get clothing once a month,
Wow.
to really encourage them to come to school.
So this is the menorah lighting that you're talking about. That is this during a game they did a menorah lighting?
So this was the Nigerian domestic Olympics. This is the before picture. As they were setting up, they asked us to come and put a presence from the Jewish community, since we're an integral part of the Nigerian fabric, as they said.
Amazing. It looks like you have to build a menorah from scratch instead of shipping one. It'll probably be pretty expensive to ship a menorah from a 15-foot menorah from New York or Israel. So was this made locally?
Yeah, it was made locally, and also we would take the risk of if we would ship it, it would take the risk of it arriving in time for Shavuos.
Well said. Okay, this looks. Please tell me what's going on in this picture. Children look.
Yes, so this is one of the schools that we rebuilt, and one of the issues that they had was that there was no running water, so there were no toilets and no drinking water. So we fixed up their water tank to really. One of the ways that the children should be proud of their school, and those who are enlisted, they should continue coming to school. They'll be say, look, I have. We have all these facilities here. Let us get involved. Let us keep on coming to school. So we got them a new generator. We reconstructed the almost the entire school. We paid the teachers' salaries, so they don't need to take it from other people.
Is that the rabbi in the background on the microphone? It looks.
Yeah, that's
okay.
That's Rabbi Uzan.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll stop sharing. Mendy, this is amazing, very inspiring. Wow, that's the comment coming in on the things. Elizabeth has a good question. It looks like there was the virus there. I mean, it's everywhere. But can you talk a little bit about the age of COVID-19 in Nigeria? I saw the rabbi wearing a mask, but it hasn't been very deadly as it is in America. Is it? Go ahead.
It's hard to know. That's the simple answer. The chief of staff of the president had the virus, and I was told that there was only 2 ventilators in the entire country. 2 ventilators for 200 million people. And I'm sorry to say, but I doubt either of them actually worked. If we had problems in America, they for sure had very serious issues, though it didn't hit them that hard. They did have the virus. They did have a very strict lockdown, which actually devastated the people because they work to have food. If they don't work that day, they don't eat. Even if you work that day, you not necessarily will you eat. So when you lock them down, it really puts a major strain on them. And even social distancing is a concept that doesn't exist by them, since so many people live in slums, and they live in tin covers, and you have every square inch somebody's living there. So I mean, that's why they also have a lot of diseases, since there's not so much, you can't be too hygienically clean there. So it did create its own challenges, though you don't have, according to the official statistics, it's not that bad. I believe there was about 13,000 people with the virus. I don't know if the numbers are real or not.
Wow. Well, Mendy, this is incredibly inspiring. Thank you so much for taking your time to share about Jewish life in Nigeria. It's really, really incredible. It's inspiring for us as Chabad rabbis and rebbitzins here, knowing we're doing what we're doing here, and we know that your part of the world is covered as well in an incredible way. So on behalf of our community, I'll be going on your site, and maybe I'll be WhatsApping with you after to see if you prefer PayPal, but we'd love to give a donation. I'll be doing it on behalf of our community towards your efforts and your incredible mitzvahs that you do daily in Abuja and in Lagos. So thank you so much, Mendy. Let's see if there's any other questions. I think you're actually really good at answering a lot of the questions that were coming through during your talk. Any other questions that are coming through? And actually, before any questions, next week we'll actually be with Rabbi Levitansky, who grew up in Santa Monica, son of a Chabad rabbi, and he moved to Sumy, Ukraine, I think somewhere around 15, 20 years ago, which is really on the border with Russia. And he does incredible, incredible work. He's an inspiration to many, many. And he'll be joining us next Sunday. It'll be a little later just because he prefers a little later in the evening for him. So it'll be, I think, at 12 o'clock our time on Sunday afternoon. And I'll be sending out an email about that. Just with Rabbi Mendy here, any other questions that people may have? Okay. Thank you, Mendy, so much. I'm incredibly impressed, proud to know that what's happening in Central Africa, what's happening in Nigeria is remarkable. Thank you so much, Mendy.
Thank you for having me on your platform, and I encourage you all to get involved in your Judaism, get involved with Rabbi Landa as much as possible, and know that if we can do it in Nigeria, we can do it in California, and much better.
Amen. Thank you, Mendy.
Thank you.
Have a Shavua Tov, have a great week, and continue your holy work, and bring Mashiach.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Be well.
Nice meeting you.